Okay, so today we'll be looking at part 3 of our discussion in expert system. And this part 3 discussed about characteristics and structure of an expert system. Please do subscribe to the channel. After the lecture, I will upload the discussion in the YouTube channel and share the link with you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more updates. At the same time, you also make some comments on the comment section. Through there, I'll be able to assess your attendance. So going forward, we look at the characteristics of an expert system. Characteristics of an expert system. All right. So we will be looking at how expert system has changed our environment. How expert system have affected us in our daily livings. What will you see and you will now say, okay, this is, or this will be attributed to an expert system. Here we want to look at the growth of an expert system is expected to continue for several years. Several years. With the continued growth, many new and exciting applications will emerge. You know, expert system is a revolution that is cutting across different disciplines. It's just like when artificial intelligence came up, much people did not notice the applicability until it begins to penetrate in different disciplines, thereby making it widely acceptance or increasing the acceptance of the artificial intelligence. Likewise, expert system is growing rapidly. It operates as an interactive system that responds to questions, asks for clarifications, makes recommendations, and generally aids the decision-making process, especially the decision-making process. Here, expert system enable experts advice and guidance in a wide variety of activities, from computer diagnosis to delicate medical surgery. Well, sometimes you see people, whenever you mention expert system, they talk more on medical related perspective. Why? It is because it has penetrated into health. It has dissolved health by providing a lot of decision, a lot of solutions in a medical perspective. However, with the course of time, we expect to expand the horizon to other disciplines like engineering, science, and many of them. Even the legal aspects, thank God the assignment cut across different horizons of discipline that we will now look at the impact of expert system, the growth of expert system. I remember one of you is working on the legal perspective. Let's look at how expert system can devolve the legal system. The expert system here, take for instance in the medical personnel, there are a lot of because health is what they attribute to wealth. Anything that has to do with life. That is why when you are working on health-related field or topics, it is expected of you to do more work because it has to do with health. It has to do with life. And that is why whenever I can deduce that over time, any publication or research done in a medical related field, they gain more visibility, they gain more citations over the others because people are looking for a solution to humanity. And in our own area, whenever you use some algorithms to provide solution to a certain task, sometimes you say, for example, decision tree algorithm or random forest algorithm or neurofuzzy algorithm or ant colony algorithm. Any of these, when you are able to experiment with it and you achieve maybe 80, 85%, 90%, you'll be clapping yourself, your hand. I've done my research is actually have a good result. Well, let me shock you. When it has to do with life, medical related life, in fact, 99% is questionable. You are expected to get 100% or 99.9 or 99 point in that angle. So 90%, 95% cannot be administered. If it's a drug and you produce an efficiency of 99%, I mean 95% or 92%, let me tell you, it might probably work in some certain communities or countries based on their own environment. But in Nigeria, for example, if you produce a drug, maybe that will solve, or a solution that will solve malaria issues, and you are able to achieve, let's say 95%, let me tell you, that drug will not sell in Nigeria. It may sell in other countries, but in Nigeria, it will not sell. Because our body system alone is already immune. The environment has made a strengthening our body system that ordinary drugs cannot penetrate. You see so many malaria drugs or typhoid drugs in the market. Sometimes it seems as if it is not working. That's why we have numerous of them, because people are still looking for a way. How do you solve malaria in Africa? If you produce a malaria, maybe works in Europe or in Asia countries, when you bring it to Africa, before you know it will be diluted, because our body system, the environment, what we are passing through day by day is enough to kill off the efficacy of that drugs before touching the main disease in our body. That's why most of the things we drink in terms of water and the rest of them. Some other country or some people may take it and they will not survive it. But most of us in African, compared to Europe and other countries, it's as if we are mad people. That it hardly touched us. Remember when during the COVID-19, I remember people were dying, and I remember Bill Gates and other medical experts prophesy or estimated that it will wipe off the entire of Africa if no appropriate measure was taken. But at the end, what happens? It almost wiped off the white people than the black people. They fail to consider that the blood of black people are stronger, especially the African angle, especially the African continent. So you may not actually deduce, because our problem alone is more than the disease. And for that drugs or medical approach to bypass what we see day by day before even touching the disease, it is a delicate matters that call for concern, that call for hybrid approach to solve. You and I can use expert knowledge to solve these inherent issues. Going forward, we'll look at the general characteristics, the general characteristics the general characteristics. Here we identify about 11 characteristics ranging from high-level performance, domain specificity, good reliability, understandable, adequate response time, explaining capability, use symbolic representation linked with mental knowledge, expertise knowledge, justify reasoning, and lastly, special programming languages. These are well-known characteristics of an expert system. Let's dive into details. We talked about high level performance. Of course, expert system should show a high level performance in the field you are deploying it with. All right. The quality of advice given by the system should be in a high level integrity, and for which the performance ratio should be also very high. Just as I explained to you, that your performance, your evaluation metrics should be high, not undermine the problem you intend to solve. You try to solve a problem, at the end you succeeded in creating more problems. Because when you produce a system that want to solve somebody's headache, maybe you evaluated the system to have some certain ratio of or degree of performance. At the end, when people take that drug, or it may not be drug, it could be a system like maybe like software that can solve a financial related problem or other computational challenges. And when you provide these applications or software, you deploy it, that it can solve the certain needs of computational needs. Then maybe that system was deployed into finance. Instead of it solve the problem in the finance, or maybe it tends to perform addition and subtraction, and maybe probably somebody try to perform both, maybe combine both addition, subtraction, and multiplication. Instead of you getting maybe at end, you instead of maybe you tend to achieve positive, at end the system is giving you negative. Have you solved problem? You succeeded in creating problem. And maybe you after the evaluation, you assure the company, because you are the consultant to that company, and you assure them that the software has been evaluated and it can solve these financial needs. Okay. For instance, in Veritas University, you deploy the system in the payment accountant sections for pay slip or for payment of salary. Then maybe VC announced that at end of the section that he wants to reward the most performed or competent staff, or those who have contributed or have achieved some certain high degree in their field and decided to award them. He now give an incentive, maybe 100,000 to all of the high-performed researchers in the field. Then you developed a new system. You upgraded the system or updated the system to enable such distribution of funds. Unfortunately, instead of the system to go for the most awarded, the performed person, the payment goes to underperformed people or personnel. Have you solved the problem? The question is no. You succeeded in creating more problems. All right. So this is what we are discussing here, that the system should have a high level performance. Okay. Secondly, we look at domain specificity. The specific of that domain must be noted. For example, a diagnostic expert system for troubleshooting a computer must actually perform all the necessary data manipulation as a human expert would. Special tools or programming languages are often needed to accomplish the specific objective of the system. So as a developer, you should be able to have or call upon to do that. That is why we have different domain. The specific of such domain. When it comes to that, when it comes to that area of computer, the developers have to come in. The programmers have to come in, okay? Because we are looking for a way to troubleshoot a system. You won't go and call an engineer or medical personnel to come and do this diagnosis, because you hear about diagnostic expert. You want to call a chief lab scientist to come and do it, or a neurologist or other medical experts or engineers. No, you need to call in an expert from computer domain. All right. Moving on, we look at good reliability of the system. It said the expert system must be what? Reliable as human expert. If you produce a system that should be able to do those highlighted tasks, you should be able to do it and faster than human expert can do it. If you provide a system that should be able to diagnose a car and come up with a problem of that car, of course, there are a lot of expert tools that can enable you diagnose car fault without losing it. So you should be able to do it just like as human person do it. Then understandable. What are we looking at here? The system should be able to do what? Explain the steps of reasoning while executing the tasks. You should be able to execute all the necessary steps that needed to be solved. You need to take it for, especially for documentation purposes. It is very, very important, so that it is easy to mimic human knowledge for explanation capability, similar to the reasoning ability of a human expert. All right. As that is being done, you look at the adequate response time. When you are designing that system or when you are programming that system, a time it takes to perform is very important. If the time it takes to perform such tasks is limited to a human expert time, then of what needs? Today we use Excel. Excel can handle the computational, the time, the computations, especially in the response time. It is very high. When you're providing a system that should be able to solve humans' needs. That system should be able to do it better than human being can do it, or exactly what human being can do it, so that it will save time. If it cannot save time, then of what needs? If you can you have a list of values to add, and maybe have 20 values, and you can use your brain or your own knowledge to add it based on the knowledge you've acquired, mathematical knowledge you've acquired. You will adding it 101 plus 44,000 plus this. Then if you're able to call it and then compute it offhand, and it is faster, and somebody will pick a calculator and punching it, before you punch 3 or 4, the other person has finished calculating. That calculator, is it relevant again? Then it's not relevant. You can even go and throw away it if your brain can be. But if you can, when you try to add 5 values, you use calculator to punch it and get the correct answer, then you can rely or embark on such system. We continue with these general characteristics by looking at symbolic representations. You should try to use symbol like rules, network, and perform their inference through symbolic computation that closely resemble manipulation of a natural language, human language, machine language. So you should be able to do that. No, some things value, when people look at pictures or a rule that they find or a guideline, it is easy for them to follow it. That is why anytime you buy some drugs or you bought drug, what happened? What happened there is every drug or system has a manual. Any electronics you buy anywhere, it comes with what? Manual. That manual show you how to use it. If you buy drug, you look at what? The manual that shows you the prescriptions of that drugs, how you should use it. Okay? So that now we'll now look at, you have to link it with meta knowledge. Here we are looking at the reason with knowledge about themselves and their own knowledge, limits, and capabilities. The use of meta knowledge is quite interactive and simple for various data representations. Meta knowledge. Sometimes you look at some meta AI where you type, and before, if you say what is the approach to breakthrough, or what did the religion say about breakthrough, you see they will now begin to give you breaking those tasks about that angle you want it. And it's good that your own knowledge, system knowledge, they must have a relationship with. That is why some of you use, when you use wrong approach to some certain tasks, you achieve wrong results. Take for instance, you have been given a notice of a lecture today, and probably something came up. Maybe you are religious those religious fanatics who believe that they are with Jesus or they are holier than Pope. Instead of them to attend the lecture, They say they are going to church. Are you going to church to do what? To pray? Good and fine. You were in church on Sunday. You pray in the night. You pray when you wake up this morning. And the time you have to attend the lecture, and you say you want to use it to go to church, my dear, is a wrong approach. Whether you like it or not, you expect wrong results. This is a natural phenomenon. It's a leaked knowledge. Based on what previous knowledge you'll be able to deduce is a wrong approach. What if what is being discussed today came out in the exam and you fail it? Who will you blame? Will you blame God? I beg. No talk about my God. Oh. No blame God. You blame yourself. We are talking about linking of knowledge. Okay. As that has been said, let's look at expertise knowledge. This expertise not only produce good solutions, but find them quickly. So an expert system must be skillful in applying its knowledge to produce solutions, both efficiently and effectively by using the intelligence human expert. Expertise knowledge cannot work without human expert. That is why people are being trained. We earlier discussed that for you to develop a good expert system, maybe you must have a good knowledge of that specific area. You must have knowledge. Sufficient knowledge. That is why when you want to produce an expert system, you have to go, you consult, you research, you ask questions before you come up with a justifiable system. Then justify it. From there, you have to justify such reasoning. You are reasoning about something. I told you that there are some days, those days when I am at home, I like to visit my paternal home, and one of our uncle there was about 110 years or 120 years. Each time in fact, that is what made me to always go there. Each time I comes back from school, I will go and meet my uncle, who will stand beside him. He will be telling us storytellings, stories, what happens during Biafra War, what happens during their own time, what happens, what the political perspective, traditional perspective, and so many things. He will be telling us so much stories. And these stories, it is actually edifying. It touches the spirit. It makes you to know where you are coming from. It makes you to understand where the era you are and era to come. For you to justify the reason, it has to do with a lot of things. Because if the system is a rule-based system, if my forefather is a rule-based, if my uncle, in quote, is a rule-based system, it provides to the user or to their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, all the rules and facts it has to use to achieve its answers. That story is telling us will help us to mark our ways, to know how to behave in life, how to apply those knowledge will make you advance, even though you are a kid, but it will make you reason like an adult, thereby give you edge above others. All right. Also, explaining capability. Expert systems are capable of explaining how a particular conclusion was reached and why requested information is needed during a consultation. This is very important as it gives the user a chance to assess and understand the system's reasoning ability, thereby improving the user confidence in the system. By the time you consult, you contrast with your system, with what people say, how people use it, and what it can do. That will give you a very solid ground. Next is special programming languages. You need some special programming languages to carry out this discussion or this development. You can use Lisp, Prolong, even Python, C++ can help you to simplify the coding process. All right. Before I move on to the second phase, do you have any question or contribution or concern before we will now dive into the second stage of the discussion? I pause to take any question if there is. All right. If there is none, we can move on. Structure of an expert system. We have the structure of an expert system reflect the knowledge engineers' understanding of the method of representing knowledge and of how to perform intelligent decision-making tasks with the support of a computer-based system. Complex decisions involve intricate combination of factual and heuristics knowledge. Complex decisions involve intricate combinations of factual and heuristics knowledge. This heuristics knowledge is very important in contributing to the development of an expert system. Heuristics talks about the body movement, the coding mechanism, gesture, and a play game. One day I remember one of my lecturers then during my undergraduate time, who happens to be my HOD, Dr. Ituma Chinagoram. He was handling us in one of the course, discussing about heuristics characteristics. I could vividly remember what he said. How can you justify ladies will be telling men that their head is not correct? Little thing, they will tell, especially if guys is coming to charge them or say one or two things to them, they will tell them their head is not correct. Let's face the fact. Whose head is not correct now with this little analogy I want to show to you? During weekends, most ladies are found in the hair salon, either to retouch their hair or to weave their hair or to plait their hair, mean their hair. By the time they plait their hair during the weekend, watch from Monday, Tuesday, within the week, maybe by the time the hair will be biting them, before you know, they will just do like this. Especially if such person plait the hair, a fresh hair, a new hair, watch within the week, any girl that at a point which should just touch her hair like this, maybe that person plait that hair newly. Before you know it, you just touch the head like maybe the thing is biting them. Anyway, and they're touching their head. Who head is wrong now? Whose head is not correct? For a lady to tell the men, is her head correct? Is the internet telling them that their head is also is not correct? That is it. You know, man, you should man. By the time you are touching your head as a lady, nne, you should man. Is your head correct? That is a nature of heuristics. Also, if you are a guy, you are eyeing a lady, I don't know how to talk to you. Sometimes you visit them, and sometimes two of you go out to a certain place. But that day, you was a kind of a special day for you people to meet, and you went to their compound to inform her, but she is with their parents. You don't know how to convey your message. Then what do? You just give it wanka or high five. As you are leaving, just give the person high five. The parents, you think you are greeting them. You are saying bye-bye to them. No. Already two of you have understand your coding mechanism. That the first finger, the five finger means I will see you in the evening. I will see you in the evening. That is high five. You already know where people to meet. That is what heuristics is doing. Heuristics knowledge help us, especially for the special people. Special people, I mean like the those who have complication in hearing or in seeing, deaf or dumb people, handicapped people. So sometimes you use sign language to communicate to them. Heuristics enables you to develop a sign language. That is the point here. All right. Moving on. The structure of an expert system is deduced or categorized into three: knowledge base, working memory, and inference engine. All these three key concepts contribute to have a good structure of an expert system. It must have a knowledge base, because the knowledge base constitutes the problem-solving rules, facts, or institutions that a human expert might use in solving problems in a given problem domain. Then your working memory consists of an essential component called database, which in generally the workspace contains a set called rule base. That is, it contains a set of rules that can or enables a system at any given time or moment. And again, the inference engine that helps to come up with your results, annotate your results, demonstrate your outcome of the results. Inference, especially in the production system, which is a rule-based system, is accomplished by a process of churning through the rules recursively, either in a forward or a backward direction, until a conclusion is reached. Now, let's look at the organization of those expert systems as we just analyzed. As we discussed here, We have knowledge engineers from the inference engine. We have working memory database, which goes inference engine or the knowledge engineers interact with the database through the users. And at the same time, a knowledge engineers or inference engine could be the software that where the expert has to also relate with the knowledge base, which is the data, and the working memory interact with the knowledge base through the word spreadsheets like Excel. These are what sometimes you see it in your hardware system. All right. You can read further for more detailed explanation of the diagram. Then, in addition to our discussion today, we will look at rule-based architecture of an expert system. What I can explain to you here is use the direction of the arrow, use the flow of the arrow to understand how the system works, combining the inference engine, knowledge base with working memory. So here we can see the knowledge engineer can interact using the inference engine, can also interact through the knowledge base, which is domiciliary with the domain expert, is generated from the word the domain expert. They interwork in periphery or interwoven with each other. The domain expert interwoven with what the knowledge engineers. So from the inference or working memory, you can have external interface that work in hand with explanation module that have to explain what the interface is doing. It's a kind of self-help. So all these things you can run the user interface, you can update each other. And finally, from the external interface, where you can have database, spreadsheet, executable programs, maybe develop like a spreadsheet like Excel, Python, Access, database, or you write a program and compile it and push into a hardware memory where you'll be running it as an end systems. So this is the typical nature of rule-based system of an expert system. Thank you. In our next lecture, we'll be looking at types of expert system, which will form our part 4 of this discussion. So, any question, feel free to ask your question. And probably if you can't remember now, you can share it in the comment sections. As I said earlier, please subscribe to the channel or like the channel for more updates. Then or make a comment, because it is from there I will take your attendance. I will know the activeness of those of the, or I'll get your opinion on how you understand the topic, so that it will now guide us on the next approach to adapt or adopt to enable us have a very sufficient knowledge in this concept. Thank you.